I'm Colin, and today we're going to cover some mistakes to avoid when you're sealing a paver project, as well as some tips for how to fix them. One of the most common mistakes made when sealing paving stones is that your pavers will look dry, but the joint material or the bedding material underneath them is not. So when you apply that sealer, whether it's water-based or solvent-based, and it comes into contact with that moisture, it actually has a counter reaction, not fully bonding to that stone. Everything will look great when it's dry, but in the wintertime when it's wet or if your sprinklers are on it, you'll see cloudy, foggy spots where the sealer worked and where it didn't. What we do to ensure that our paving stones are fully dry is we do what's called the greenhouse method. We'll take some masking tape and some plastic sheeting, create a little square on our surface area, maybe in multiple spots if you want to. If no condensation accumulates on that plastic sheeting, then you are safe to seal those pavers. The optimal time of year for sealing is going to be in those summer months when you have nice, dry weather. You want to be cautious though, because if your paving stones exceed 9 degrees Fahrenheit of a surface temperature, your sealer may not work properly when you're installing it. Even though the air temperature outside may not exceed 90 degrees, it could be only 75, the paving stones, when exposed to full sunlight, can definitely exceed that. So what you want to do is touch and feel those paving stones. If they feel cool, you're going to be safe to seal. If they feel a little warm, you want to double verify with the assistance of a digital thermometer to ensure, again, that they are not beyond 90 degrees. You also want to make sure you have a little bit of a buffer period about 2 hours after the application process of not exceeding that temperature so that all the sealer can absorb into the material and function properly. When sealing paving stones for the first time, it can be difficult to establish the proper amount of sealer. What we don't want to see from an over-application status is taking a 1 gallon bucket or a 5 gallon bucket and dumping that sealer on and trying to back roll or squeegee off the excess. You'll get lots of splashes, splatters, pooling, and just an absurd amount of inconsistencies across that project. What you want to do is spray it on with a sprayer. You can use the typical garden sprayer from a big box store or a hardware store and get lots of uses out of a water-based sealer. But if you're doing a solvent-based sealer, which may be common in your area, you're probably only going to get one use out of it because it eats through the gaskets. What we do is a flood coat, and that flood coat's going to tell you how much sealer you're going to need and how absorbent that material is. If it's super absorbent, you're going to need 2 coats. If it's not very absorbent, you're only going to need 1. When you're spraying it, you basically let it pool up. As soon as it starts to pool up, you just move on to the next area. If that pooling is staying for a long time, make sure you remove it again with a foam squeegee or a roller cover. When you go back for that mist spray for the second coat, if you need it, you're going to make sure you have that roller ready or the squeegee to remove all that excess sealer on to improve consistency and make sure you don't use too much product. On the opposite end, you can underseal your paving stones. When this happens, it's just not going to perform the same or hold that color as well, so watch out for things like that. That flood coat, again, is going to tell you how much you're going to need. If you have a lot of pooling off the first coat, remove the excess sealer, you won't need another coat. If you don't have a lot of pooling, you're going to need a second coat of sealer on those pavers. If you applied a solvent-based sealer and have some of the issues we previously talked about, whether it's moisture trapped into your stone or you over-applied it, xylene may help you fix a lot of those mistakes. Now, when you apply sealer on a moist surface and you have those cloudy spots with the sealer attached and dispatched, you can take some xylene, spray it on and roll it to kind of make that sealer malleable again and open up that sealer to let that moisture that's trapped in there escape. Okay, you want to make sure you do a test patch with this, make sure it has good looking results, then you can do your entire project if you want everything to look consistent. If you over applied that sealer, whether the surface was hot and it all dried on the top, or you just put too many coats on, again, you can test a patch with the xylene just by spraying it on that area and rolling it. If it looks good, you can do the entire project with that same process. If it doesn't look any better because there's just too much sealer on there, you're gonna have to move to a stripping agent like SCK Sherwin SureStrip to entirely remove all of that sealer and start fresh. Now, if you use a water-based sealer and you have some similar issues, especially with that moisture, maybe you have some fogging or inconsistencies going on, the only thing you can do is strip that sealer off. You can't use xylene on a water-based sealer. It has virtually no effect. It will not look right. So again, if you have those moist spots, you're gonna have to strip that sealer off, let it become a raw paver again, and reapply the sealer under the proper conditions. If you over applied that sealer, maybe the surface was hot, or you just put too many coats on, which is actually easier to do with water-based sealer than solvent-based sealer, again, if you want it to look better, you're gonna have to strip off all that sealer with a stripping agent. We like STK Surebond SureStrip. It works really, really good on their products. But if you can't find it in your area, you may want to look into something like a heavy duty paint stripper to get similar results. Just make sure you do a small test patch on one edge of your patio or walkway to get the results that you want, and then you can move on to stripping the entire project. As we went over the common mistakes made when applying sealer, as well as how to avoid them and fix them, hopefully there's something within this video that was beneficial to you. If you have a project coming up and you want to learn more projects you can do by yourself, check out our website, westerninterlock.com, or our YouTube channel, Western Interlock.